Do you think that the First Amendment is disappearing with Trump's attacks on many different facets of the media?
Well, it's had some pretty good people pretty smart folk who thought they could put a limit on it, and they didn't do too well. And I think the First Amendment will survive because I think our Constitution is very strong. But let me just say something about that. You know, I was there back in the Nixon days when Vice President Agnew called us all nattering nabobs of negativity. I think Pat Buchanan is the one who wrote that speech. I was there for all of that, and I've been called a lot of things down through the years. Just the other day, I think I can say this. I think you're all grown up. I was on Brian Stelter's program on Sunday morning. He's the CNN critic, and I was talking about this confusion that we all have. And someone tweeted in later, said, I don't have any trouble separating fact from fiction. Maybe Bob's just a dumb shit. So I thought, well, maybe that's the answer. You know, that's one thing I hadn't considered here. But I say that just to underline that, you know, when you're a reporter, you've been doing it as long as I have, you don't pay any attention to the name calling. But what I do, and let me just finish this answer, what I do take very seriously is I don't care if it's a person in the highest office in the land or someone in the darkest corner of his mother's basement. When that person tries to destroy the credibility of a free press in this country, they're really attacking one of the foundations of our democracy. I mean, we can't have a democracy as we know it unless citizens have access to independently gathered information that they can compare to the government's version of events. And if they have that information, then they'll decide what to do about it. I mean, that's the difference in a totalitarian society where the only source of news is the government and the kind of democracy we have. So I take that part very, very seriously, and I think we all have to be aware of it and understand that this is not helpful in any way, shape, or form. I mean, who wants to have a government where the only source of information is the government? We wouldn't stand for that for a minute. So I think those of us in journalism have to remember, I try not to take myself very seriously, but I take my job as a reporter very seriously because I don't think you can have a democracy without it.
Bob, building on that, how has the responsibility of journalists changed?
Well, it really hasn't changed. The responsibility of journalists really hasn't changed, but sometimes we need to remember what that responsibility is and to understand and to help others understand. Look, we're not the opposition party, as Mr. Bannon tried to label us, and I don't know anybody in journalism who thinks that. I mean, we're not here to run the government. We're not here to run campaigns. We're here to report on the people who do. The politicians deliver a message. Our responsibility is to check it out, find out if it's true, and report on the impact it's going to have on the governed. That's what we do. We don't do what the politician does. If we do that right, then we have performed a crucial service to democracy. And we have to keep remembering, you know, young reporters come in and say, well, how do you know a contentious interview? How do you? I said, look, you're not there to argue with these people. You're there to ask them questions. You ask them questions and you keep asking until you get an answer. And if you don't get an answer, sometimes a non-answer becomes an answer. So you just keep asking the questions. Don't get into arguments. Don't ever get the idea it's your responsibility to run things. You're there to check on the people who do run things.